whatever way that we have in our head that we expect people to use the software, they'll find other interesting ways to use it that we didn't expect. We always knew that we wanted to make these recommendation engines for the real world, like things that would recommend places and experiences to you the same way that Amazon would recommend books or Netflix would recommend movies. And in order to do that, we knew that we needed to have a lot of check-in data, like which types of people go to which places, and what are the places that your friends go to, and what are the things that you like, what are the places that you've been to. And we knew the best way to get that was check-in data. We knew how valuable check-in data was. And I think a lot of people looked at early versions of Foursquare and they say, oh, this is a cute little toy that I can use to share my location and try to win badges and compete with friends, which is fine because there's a lot of people that use Foursquare for that. But behind the scenes, and one of the things that we knew from the beginning was, if we do that successfully, it will generate lots of interesting data points that we can then feed directly into this recommendation engine. When you look at the usage numbers and you see stuff that's unexpected, like our first instinct was to think that we broke something. If people aren't using this the way that we designed it, that means there must be something broken technically on the back end. Let's dig into it and see what's wrong. And when we dug into it, we realized there was just an emerging class of users that, the first thing that they would do when they came to Foursquare is that they would use it to search and they would use it to discover, and that the idea of checking in was secondary to them. And that's just something that, I don't want to say blew our minds, but it was just like unexpected. It's like, well, that's not the way the other people used it. Why do these people understand it differently? And you have to listen to your users. You can't lecture the users and say, this is not what you're supposed to be doing, you should do this instead. But instead, it's like, wait, if people really want to use this for search first, then we should, maybe change the app a little bit. So we think, we're like, oh, well, maybe the story that we were telling initially, like every check-in makes the Explore recommendation engine smarter. Like that's a good story, but like we're realizing it might not apply to everyone. And that the story for new users might be, hey, come into Foursquare and use it for amazing search and discovery. And you should know that once you go to these places, you should tell Foursquare that you've been there so that those results get better. But it's basically taking our story, check in first, search second, and flipping it upside down. It's like start with search and then make those results better by using Foursquare to share some of that data. The first time that you end up building a product, you think, I made this thing and I make the rules and everyone will end up playing by those rules. And really what happens is you end up making, instead of an entire experience, you make like a sandbox and you let the users come in and play with that sandbox and figure out things that they can do and what they can't do. And we've seen this all through Foursquare, whether it's search stuff, whether it's people that we want them to check into places and sometimes they check into hurricanes and blizzards. And it's like, that's not what it's intended for, but that's what people want to do with it. And so we look at our user community, we get a lot of feedback and a lot of ideas for how to push the product forward and in what direction to push it based off of what they actually do with Foursquare. And so we learn from them probably more than we tell them what they should be doing.